Arizona's newest United States Senator is headed back to the U.S. after a first-hand look at some of the world's worst danger zones. Not in Your Side's Craig Smith talked with Senator Jeff Flake as the senator returned from Israel and Afghanistan.
God, we covered a lot of ground with Senator Flake, just as he has covered a lot of ground in two of the areas that present some of the trickiest challenges for the U.S. in world affairs. But we also discussed some hot topics in domestic affairs, too. In Afghanistan, Senator Flake heard from U.S. and Afghan commanders and had a chance to meet with troops from Arizona. Now he says the Afghans are ready to take over their own security, in part because the U.S. set a firm withdrawal date.
Would it be fair to say that where people in the past said, bad idea to set a fixed exit date, this ended up being a good incentive for the Afghan forces?
Well, obviously, those who are steeped in military history and tactics understand the challenges that are posed when you give a date. That does give the opposition in this case, the insurgency, an advantage that they can wait you out.
But Senator Flake says knowing U.S. troops would not be there forever made Afghan troops step up to the challenge. In Israel, Senator Flake met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. They discussed Iran and its nuclear program. Senator Flake says Iran is feeling more pressure because European countries are joining the U.S. now in financial sanctions. He says if Iran does not back off, no one wants military action, but it must be an option.
Nobody's talking about ground troops, but what people have talked about is military strikes to try to disable or put back their nuclear capability.
On the president's push for gun control, Senator Flake feels background checks can be addressed without infringing on the right to bear arms.
Obviously, background checks, we want to make sure that people lawfully carry arms.
And the standards would be, what, criminal history, mental health problems?
Yes.
Now, we also talked about the president's interest in comprehensive immigration reform. Senator Flake says reform is needed, but securing the border can and should be achieved first.
If it comes to military action against Iran, could you get him to elaborate on what that might be?
Not really. When he said he did not expect to use ground troops, I asked him if that meant something like manned aircraft or unmanned like cruise missiles. He did not want to get more specific.
Thank you, Craig.